that matter. Thank you. Having called the meeting to order, I will now give the official announcement here. Due to the governor's statewide disaster declaration relating to the COVID-19 pandemic and current public health guidelines for social distancing, I've determined that it is not prudent for the members of the Economic Development Commission or staff to convene in person for this morning's meeting. Therefore, the members of the EDC are attending the meeting by video conference. Those same conditions require barring access to the public for in-person attendance. In light of those limitations, the public is invited to attend and listen to the meeting through Zoom platforms or by phone, as indicated on the meeting agenda. To comply with the Open Meetings Act requirements for virtual meetings, this morning's meeting is being recorded. Done. I have to acknowledge on the screen that I understand that we're recording. Technology. Pam, could you do an attendance roll for us, please?
Sure. Mina Hall. Mike Elliott.
I'm here.
Erwin Steinberg.
Present.
Jay Levin. And Roger.
Here.
Sorry, I was on mute. I was here.
Oh, thank you.
It is a relatively light agenda this morning. And we hope to have a speaker. It didn't work out. We'll see what develops. But the first thing that we've got on the agenda is our village manager volunteered to, from meeting to meeting, bring us up to date on recent developments in terms of people coming in and being interested in economic development in the village. Is that okay to do now, Greg?
Yeah, there nothing has changed since the previous meeting. We were so close. We're only 3 weeks from that last meeting. So, and with the holidays, there has not been a lot of activity. We did get a conceptual plan from the developers interested in putting a storage facility at Lake Cook and 53, just across from Menards. We've invited them to come in and have a discussion with us with that concept plan. As you know, Roger, and anybody who viewed the December board meeting, we had discussions related to the development or concepts or what's acceptable for the South 15. I know you asked the commissioners to perhaps go back and look at that meeting to get a feel for things. But other than that, we wait to have some further contact. There's a piece of property on the north end of town that a property owner is thinking about donating to the village. We're in discussion with the village attorney right now. The property sits right on 83, just south of Willowbrook Road over near Osage. So we're looking at that right now. But other than that, it's been relatively quiet, but I'm sure that's not going to last.
Greg, can I ask you a quick question about the email from Bill? Is Mike Oakham taking over Joni's?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you, Jenny. It's already done. The business transferred hands at the beginning of the year. The new company that has purchased that, which is Mike Oakham, has applied for his business license and his liquor license already. My understanding is their intent is to reopen on either Monday or Tuesday of next week. Joni is staying there to help with transitions for a couple months, to work with staff, and I guess they're going to keep the same menu. Not much is going to change. They're receiving occupancy inspections today. And once that's done, they'll be pretty well set to go. I think what's positive about that is that my understanding is Joni had been deciding if she was going to keep that business open for personal reasons. and that for us not to have another vacancy with such a high vacancy rate in the historic business district, I see that as a positive. So.
Thanks. I
Hmm.
heard from the rumor mill at the gas station that that was happening, but then it was confirmed by the email. So
Yep.
Randall Express Evening News. Yes, that's the place to go. Joni told me around Thanksgiving, and she just said she had wanted to move to another place in the village for whatever reason, and the landlord wouldn't deal, whatever that means. But she was frustrated. Yeah, and it was. It seemed to be a pretty busy spot that made people at least aware of the village and the festivals and whatnot that were going on down in the village. Just my business with clients and whatnot is everybody has taken advantage of, if you can say that, the COVID situation, along with the usual end of the year. Either we've got to close it by the September 31st or forget it, we're taking a rest. So it's just like take a deep breath and come back and do more, whatever, which is great. We talked about LinkedIn at the last meeting. I don't know, really, excuse me, that there's much more to say at this point, other than that, it's still work in progress. And now the village staff and the village's media management company are getting more involved, unless anything dramatic happened over the holiday.
Well, what happened was I asked our management analyst, Natalie, to begin to develop a potential framework for the LinkedIn site, looking at other economic development LinkedIn sites. She has started that research. Her intent is she's waiting for me to take a final look at what she's put together. And then at that point, she's been directed to contact Mike Elliott and begin discussions with Mike, since Mike was gracious enough to offer his assistance with that. But I will tell you that it is my hope that I've got a 10 o'clock call, and that's one of the topics on it today. It is my hope that when we have the February meeting, we will be able to say that LinkedIn's up and running.
That's great news.
There were a number of other things that are still in progress or might develop. I just left those off the agenda. I don't know about everybody else, but I feel like I'm kind of in a waiting mode to hear a little bit more from the village board about what's going on with. My question is, should we refocus ourselves and just consider how we can get more business for retail stores that are here? That seems to me to be kind of the nudge that is coming from the village board, but I really don't know at all. But until that happens, it's kind of hard to talk about some of the things that we've talked about, like alternative developments for the South 15, putting in some kind of mid-rise residential as a way to at least put properties back on the property tax roll and see where that goes. It's an interesting conversation, and I still suspect that is something that needs to be focused on. But for now, we don't set policy. We just try to assist the board in what they want to do. So I put on the agenda the possibility of an art festival. Mike and Greg had really worked and come up with what sounded like an excellent idea for what to do with the village's festival space going forward. And Mike or Greg, you want to tell us again just briefly what happened there?
Yeah, Mike had, when I came on about 5 months ago, Mike and I had a very good sit down to discuss ideas regarding economic development. And one of the discussions revolved around creating and I want to be cautious on how I say this because I don't want to offend the downtown business district, because that's not my intent, but a higher level festival. And oddly enough, Mike was familiar with somebody I was familiar with, and that's Amy Amdur out of Highland Park, who's very well known for her festivals, especially throughout the North Shore, Bannockburn, Glencoe, over in that area, Highland Park, Lake Forest, Highwood. And so Mike had talked about potentially approaching her and asking her if Long Grove would be a location of choice for this type of festival and or the higher end art festival, and would it do well? Things kept going. Amy and I had multiple conversations. Amy ended up meeting and making a presentation to the Historic Downtown Business District Association. She felt the presentation went well. Some of the members of that board I spoke to felt the presentation went well. She initially thought that she was going to be slated for a weekend in June of 2021, and then the association came back and said they were not going to move forward with the festival, and said that they would look at it sometime for 2022, June of 2022 for her participation. And then they changed their mind on that and said they would look at it again in 2023. She said the business association said that it happened too quick and there wasn't adequate time on their part, on their side, to plan appropriately. And then there were other comments about the costs that would be incurred, and they were not prepared to absorb those costs in the upcoming calendar year. My conversations, I've had no conversations with the association as a body revolving around the art festival. I did talk to a couple members who, the owner of Epilogue, the owner of the Village Tavern, who were both extremely excited about moving the festival forward and thought it was going to come to fruition, and it just didn't. My intent is to continue communication with Amy for a number of reasons. She's a great person to network with. She's a unbelievable resource of information regarding successes in other communities, and see if we can still work with the HDLGBA and moving it forward. So that's where we're at on that. Mike, I don't know if you want to add anything.
I do. Someone's got some background noise going. I don't know if that's
It looks
Pam.
like it's Pam, yeah.
Okay, maybe if you can mute, that would be awesome. I happen to have just an impromptu conversation with Marion, who owns the shop in Long Grove, within reach. We were in there buying something, and I asked her if she was on the Downtown Association. She said she was, and I said, hey, what happened with this art show? And I said, I heard that it wasn't a go, and I got some more detailed information. The comment about happening too quickly, she said the presentation went very well. She was super excited about the possibility of having the art show. She said what held it up for 2022 is, and this is secondhand and coming from Marion, was that they wanted an answer right away, whether it was a go or no go, so that the Historic Downtown Long Grove Business Association felt a little bit of pressure, and the dates that were available for 2022, it must have been that one in June that they were focusing on, was an adjacent weekend to one of Long Grove's festivals. So it was thought that, would people really come to Long Grove 2 weekends in a row? Now, you can argue the pros and cons of that all day, but that was the real reason. The dates that were available were next to the Long Grove festivals, and they wanted an answer, I guess, by the end of the week, yes or no. So without time to look into it, the answer defaulted to no, because, as you mentioned, Greg, they felt like they didn't have time. I don't think, and I asked the question, I said, well, is there a possibility if another date can be put out, there is a possibility we could still have this in 2022. And the answer was, yes, there's a possibility. However, I don't know what Amdor's schedule looks like. They have festivals throughout the summer. So those may have been the only weekends available from Amdor's side. And if it's adjacent to the village and we don't want to do that, I get it, right? But that was a reasonable explanation. I'd like to suggest, Greg, if maybe if it's a possibility to continue a dialogue between Amy and the association, if they could come up with another date, perhaps, maybe it's not dead. I did ask Marion about, because I didn't know, and it was none of my business, what costs were involved to the village if we had one of the art shows. And she mentioned we'd have to provide security and police, I guess. So I don't know all those details, but
To share on it, just to piggyback on that, the costs are not borne by the village. The village has no involvement with absorbing any of those
Sorry,
costs.
I meant the association.
No,
Yeah.
that's okay, Mike. I just want to make sure it's out there. The police protection, they were talking about not necessarily the security, but the security and traffic control, which is typical for every one of those events where they have the auxiliary deputies down there. And we were able to discuss about a shared cost where Amy said she'd pick up half the expense on it. The date, I think the date, to Mike's point, was the biggest of the stumbling blocks. The time pressure on it, Amy and I talked about that because I got that feedback as well, Mike. And when Amy and I had conversation about it, it was her urgency was around being able to put Long Grove in the annual distribution of her catalog or brochure of events.
Yep.
And that was going to press.
Yeah.
That's why she needed that.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. So I understand.
But the dates,
I don't think she was being unreasonably high pressure, because I don't get the feeling that's her style. And that makes sense. She had a deadline to get Long Grove included in printed material, right? So
yep.
Makes total sense. I don't know if it's worth having an ongoing dialogue. If there's no other dates available, then we should probably talk about 2023. But I was encouraged by the feedback I got from Marion, at least, that it seems like they are very open to doing it. I would love to still see it happen this year, because I think it would bring a lot of great traffic into the village and into downtown. And if the dates don't work out, that's cool. But Greg, thanks again for brokering that meeting. It's nice to see that we're open to doing some different things.
Yeah, I think I think from our first conversation on this, Mike, and I go back, I think this is a great idea for the village. I hope it does move forward. So
I could fill you guys in with what's going on our side.
Thank you. I was just
We
about to
are
say, could you do that?
definitely looking to 2023. As you said, she was asking on a Sunday for our decision on a Monday. And we're like, yeah, that's not going to happen. So we are looking at 2023, and I personally would love to head it up, because Amy, of course, shares my name, and she is an employee with the last name of Gaytan. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I figuratively said my name was written all over it. Now, literally it is. So I really want this to happen. I want to bring this to Long Grove, but we are not going to look at it till 2023, but we want to be in on the, ground floor for picking a date that year.
Amy, let me ask you, what time of year for 2023? Do you think like the summer would be best, or
Yes.
what?
Yes. And we want to go early in the summer. We want to be before everybody, because we need to know how we are going to be unique than all these other ones that she does around us. So, we want to be in the beginning on this process to figure out how to make this viable for everybody involved.
That's
Yeah, I mean-
fantastic.
In the
Yeah,
normal
that
course,
makes
Amy,
a lot- Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Amy, that you could get in on, the beginning of the years to be in the brochures and for us to publicize it on our website and all of that.
Yeah, we want to be one of the first ones of the year would be nice. Not the 11th.
Amy, can you tell us when the HLG-DBA is going to decide what it wants to do for festivals next year and talk to the village about it?
Well, we have already submitted our calendar dates. We really won't start talking Chocolate Fest for another, Duff is probably working on it, actually. Yeah, I'm not really sure how to answer that, except we have our little calendar of when we start to talk about the future events coming up. And I'm sure chocolates, well, we have some events even before that, Cocoa Crawl. I go to the events meeting at 9 o'clock. We meet like once a week. It had been lately. There is something, I don't know if I was unable to get in via my phone. That's why I had to come into my daughter's iPad. I do have some really awesome news to share if this is the appropriate time, or you want me to say it another time? I mean, later
That
on?
works. That
Awesome.
works.
Okay, so we had a hugely successful Christmas holiday season here. The sleigh rides were booked from the beginning, and we even charged for them this year. All right, so you guys know that we provide these red envelopes for people to accumulate receipts that they spend through town. And then when they have $150 worth of receipts, they can come in and redeem a prize. So with our redemptions, we had I believe the numbers were 881 gifts were redeemed. And the receipt totals was $178,000. We were pretty impressed by that.
That's really
So-
awesome, Amy. It's funny because we participated in that in the past, and we forgot about it this year, to be honest. We shopped downtown, but we didn't save our receipts or get an envelope. So shame on us, right? But that's great to hear that program is still happening and is driving more business to the village. So great work on that. My question is, do we capture any kind of customer information with those envelopes? I'm assuming we don't.
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
we do.
it would, let's see. That's a good question. I don't,
marketer in
I
me-
think we do write stuff down. If we don't confirm when they come in that they are on our mailing list, that is a lost opportunity. So
Yeah, the marketer in me sees it as and it would obviously have to be an opt-in program, right? So
Yeah.
you would have to confirm with the customer, hey, would you like to be on our village or our downtown association email list? And I would say most people would probably be like, yeah, I enjoy shopping here, obviously, and it would be nice to know when events are coming up or when the merchants are having their own events. Like I know I'm on Buffalo Creek Brewery's email, and they're always sending email with cool things that are happening there. So I just think if it's done correctly and it's an opt-in program, it could drive more interest in the village and just keep the customers that already come to the village informed and maybe make them aware of upcoming things that are going on.
I like that. I will definitely ask at the events meeting at 9 o'clock as to how we do get information from that. That's great. Thanks.
Anybody, anything else?
That's great, Amy. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that it was a successful Christmas shopping time.
Yeah, those were awesome numbers. I was very happy to report those.
Yeah, and between Mike Elliott and I didn't bring in my receipts either. So there,
Neither did I.
you could add at least 300 to that. I forgot to
But then
do it.
again, maybe I shouldn't be bringing my receipts since I'm on the board. So maybe it's a good thing I didn't.
But I think that sounds that it's hopeful that there's so many people did forget and or did shoot, basically didn't, but that just means there's a lot of activity going on in downtown Long Grove, which I think just sounds hopeful for the community. So it was great news, Amy. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Can we share that with Bobby O'Reilly as something to maybe drop in as a part of the bridge? Or, I mean, ideally, we'd have LinkedIn going in and we'd say, Long Grove, great place to have your business, blah, blah, blah. But
Let's see. I think she was at the last meeting and it was announced there. So she may know it already, but I am wondering if that is something that maybe the downtown would not really want out, or maybe it could just be phrased as there was an overwhelming response
Right.
to this promotion. If you missed it this year, make sure you check in, bring your receipts next year. Maybe something along those lines without the numbers being thrown out there.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, Amy, because, without the numbers would be best, just to say it was a successful.
Yeah, or,
season.
maybe you could say well over 800 people
Right.
showed up to claim their gifts. That I think that number's safe. Throwing out the 178,000 receipts made. Although, of course, we're saying it here on a public forum.
No, you're right, Amy, because, we don't want to, you don't know about accuracy and all that. It doesn't, I think it's best to just, as you said.
Exactly. I am going with my memory, but I conferred with Ryan last night, and that is what his recollection was also. So.
No, but I like the idea of just saying, 800 submissions, and that sounds really good. I mean, that's a big
and I think it was closer to 900. So may as well say almost 900 people showed up to turn the receipts in.
Mike, what you say, almost 1,000? Doesn't the rule of round up apply here?
Goes to 1,000.
I totally agree.
And make, a 500% increase or whatever it is. Definitely. I think that would.
Ooh, yeah. I could ask what last year, like how many came in, because that would be nice if a lot more people came in this year. If we went from like 500 to 881, that's a huge increase. And that I think could be touted also.
Hey,
Yeah,
Amy.
Let me find out how many were turned in last year. See if that's a number to note.
Hey, Amy.
Yeah.
So with the sleigh rides and the success of the sleigh rides, because I know they've been sold out the last several years you've done them. Is there any way to add additional times or rides or weekends or?
So we're talking about that right now. Okay, so if we get this grant, that would match basically our budgets for definitely this year, 2022. I think it could go into 2023 though. If we get this grant, we will be upping the amount of money we spend on a lot of things this year. So we have talked about carriage rides. If I recall correctly, we would go from like spending 14,000 to 28,000, and we do take a bath on it. So, you know, we would be doubling our bath. So I think
Even after you charge,
some of
I mean,
us,
couldn't you charge? I mean, I don't know how much sleigh rides cost, but couldn't you charge? You said you charged for the sleigh rides for the first time this year, and we've been on them too. So, and my kids love it. So I'm just wondering, you know, like maybe you could charge more. I mean, in order to recoup some of your costs.
that is, yes, we have talked about that. And it does appear like people would be willing to pay more. So
think
we have not signed
yeah.
the contract yet. John was trying to get us to do it at the December meeting, and it was kind of one of those AMDR things like, wait, no, we can't do this quite yet. We really want to know if we're going to get that grant. The contract has not been signed. Part of the board really would like to increase that because we know what a great response we get from that carriage ride. So I think if we do get this grant, I think then it's a no-brainer. That is definitely a way to utilize the money in a great way to benefit the town, because people really do love it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Right. Definitely. It's a great, you know, it's a great advertisement for the town. It's, you know, it speaks for itself. So that, yeah, if you can increase it, that would be great.
that's what probably at our next meeting, I'm sure it's going to be on the agenda again. So, any other questions?
Hi, Amy, it's Mike again. I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there a plan to repeat the bridge lighting event that happened this year for next year? Because that, I think, was a huge success.
Huge. It was awesome.
I do have one question on that. And again, this is all anecdotal, but I was told that the businesses were advised to not stay open later because it wasn't, quote, a shopping event. And I'm sure that's one side of the wrong story. To me, it would seem like you'd want the businesses open for shopping. And so
Yes.
I would just like, you know, clarification on that. It seems counterintuitive to me if that in fact was the case, but
Something strange happened that night where some people were trying to do an ugly sweater thing. And I think that's where some conflation came in with like, we're closing at 7, we're closing at 8. I don't really have any details except rumor on that.
right.
Yeah, something odd went on, and nobody should be saying around here, don't stay open later when there's people outside.
I agree.
So that doesn't make a lot of sense. That may have something to do with the ugly sweater party where some people were a little upset that they didn't get invited to the ugly sweater party.
Okay, got it. All right. Hey,
That's
the
the
other
only
question
thing I can think of about that night.
The other question I had is, and this wouldn't cost anything, and I'm sure you got it covered already. But again, from the marketing standpoint, the sleigh rides are a big hit. The bridge lighting was a big hit. Are we being mindful of the village brand, for lack of a better term, and are we taking the opportunity to make sure the village brand is tied to all of these happenings? So obviously the village brand is tied to our festivals. Those are in lockstep alignment, but is there an opportunity to have the village brand more associated with the sleigh rides or the bridge lighting? Just as people are coming in, they're they're being exposed to, whether it's the Long Grove Bridge logo or just a village brand in general. It would be a way to promote the brand at no additional cost, right? So just
Yes.
curious on that.
Yes, I think we would always try at any, any juncture to, tie branding in. The first part of your question, are we going to try to repeat that? And the answer is yes, we are definitely going to try to repeat that because one, it was a huge success. Commonwealth Edison was a part of that success. So hopefully they will step up next year. It did cost a pretty penny to get the bridge all decorated that beautifully and the lighted tunnel. It really was awesome this year. So we did bill it. I kind of said from the beginning, please call this the first annual, because that to me was an impetus to continue this on. And we did. It did. I think at one point it did definitely say first annual. So Mary Pre-Cup was behind that. We will definitely be all over that when it comes to speaking of vintage holidays next year. We will definitely be trying.
Amy, you mentioned Commonwealth Edison. Is there another opportunity maybe for corporate sponsorships of that bridge lighting event?
For sure. Yeah. If Commonwealth Edison won't give us the money, maybe somebody else would.
If I can jump in on that, Commonwealth Edison came to the table. Mary Precop brought the project to the village, and she was looking for sponsors. We were able to get the village was able to get Commonwealth Edison. I met with their director of government affairs because they were in the middle of putting together a grant program to help promote lighting for the various holiday events. We did not qualify for that grant program. So instead, I did a one-on-one with ComEd's director of government external affairs, and they jumped on the chance to give us $2,500.
Oh, great.
ComEd said that they would be willing to participate in the future. In fact, their external affairs person attended the event.
Awesome.
Mainly too, because he lives in town, which is also a good thing. Yeah, which is also a good thing to have, is that when you need government affairs, I think he lives over in Promontory.
Awesome.
But when you have somebody in government affairs that can push those buttons and get us engaged. And so what we do next is talk to our government affairs partners at Comcast and see if they want to jump in on this. There are things we can do without getting totally immersed because of our limited government model, but we can open up resources and bring them to bear on special things like this. So
thank you so much for doing that, because it really was an amazing event.
Oh yeah. And what was the date of that event again, Amy?
November 19th, I believe. It was a Friday night.
Because we could, like you mentioned, if the businesses could be open, that night, and almost like a kickoff, kind of for the holiday season, but tie in the shopping with it.
Well, you know what? We are going to definitely do better next year, because that's how the whole ugly sweater thing kind of came about, was people thinking that it should have been a little different, like more of a bigger kickoff, or, kind of more to it. So now that this will hopefully be the second annual, I think we can make it an even better event this year.
Yeah, it's just a great opportunity for a kickoff, for a holiday kickoff.
Yes.
I remember, Amy, when you used to be a more frequent participant, and I thought that was always really productive and a great kind of link for communication. I really appreciate your coming in this morning, as I think we all do, but don't be a stranger.
Thank you. I will not. Well, there was something going on. There were a couple meetings where I showed up to at 7 o'clock and like nobody was there. So I'm thinking that was like some date changes. And then the last one, I forgot to set my alarm and I woke up at 7:45 and I'm like, oh, do I dial in now or not? And I ended up not. So I should have, and I will become a more frequent attendee. But I will say the reason that I was, it took me 20 minutes to get on because the access number and the meeting number were incorrect on this month's agenda. I finally, after 20 minutes, I'm like, wait, I know this is the village's number. I mean, the Tuesday night's number. And so I went and I found the prior EDC agenda and the correct numbers were on there. So
Yeah,
I
had
need to
that
get
problem.
those into my phone. So
Right.
yeah.
I had that problem last time too, Amy. I think we need to make sure, you know, that that's correct in the next notice. Natalie, if you can help us with that.
There was another time where there was, and this happened on multiple times, where the 2 was missing at the end of the meeting number. So I kept trying to get in. I'm like, wait, I'm putting the meeting number in, but there was an additional 2 on the end. So there are 2 ways that this has been showing up incorrectly. Just
Yeah,
FYI.
I had that last time. I think it was, you know, the access number for the regular village board. And it said it was a recurring meeting, but it wasn't going on. You know, it was the wrong information.
Exactly. I
And I had
think
to
we
get
had
off and get
been,
on again. So if we could
Yeah.
correct that, that would be helpful, Natalie.
I'll get Natalie to take care of it.
awesome. And I will be here going forward every time I can.
Yeah, very helpful, Amy. Thank you.
That's
You're
great.
welcome. My
This
pleasure.
Hey, Amy,
whole- this whole mess.
one last comment and then I'll be quiet. If you ever want help with any of this, I'm happy to throw in my opinion, right? It's free. But I'm happy to help if you want to bounce ideas or if you would like to get any input on promotion or marketing or even outreach to potential corporate sponsors. I'm happy to collaborate with you. Just feel free to reach out.
Awesome. That is great. Because right now we do have a lack of marketing. We are searching for a new marketing person. And so if anything comes up that, I mean, I won't bring you a ton, but if something does come up, that's awesome. Thank you.
That, I think, covers everything except for the working session. I'm just circling some things on my copy of the agenda because the agenda problem is on me because I've been using the same template for actually a couple of years now, and somehow something got the wrong, whatever. I'll make sure that the next time we get the agenda out, both I and Denise or whoever will double check that we've got the right links for everybody.
Roger, I sent out to you and Jenny just some communication with some support documentation off of the electric vehicle charging stations. It was a comment Pam brought up at the last meeting. I said I would reach out to my colleagues in the other municipalities and get some, you know, rudimentary data from them just to kind of get a sense of where other communities or other units of government were in regards to those. I just want to make sure you got, you received that, and then however you want that distributed, if you want to go ahead and send it out to the commissioners, or if you want staff to do that, just let me know.
I will. Thank you. So let's talk about our strategic plan for the EDC for, I guess, for 2022 or the fiscal 2022. I did throw out some points in terms of what we've talked about in the past. And what's the group's feeling about this? Do we have a sense that we don't know where we're going? Or do we feel fairly comfortable?
Roger, I think you made a good point. I think we're traveling on a road that's not paved yet. And I think we have a couple of key points of things that we would like to do. We just need confirmation from the village that we're going in the right direction on this. And I think we'd like to get a date when we could hear feedback on that. We've been talking about this for 4 or 5 months, and we've got a lot of people who are committing a lot of time, who are very smart and would like to have an impact. So I'd like to get some feedback from the board at some point on where we're at, you know.
If
We have an outline.
if you'll allow me to do just get a call with Trustee Michaud there and for her and I to discuss the approach to the board, so we can figure out what that communication is going to be and how quickly we can get it back to the EDC. Would that be okay?
Greg, that's for me, that's great. I appreciate you jumping in on that.
Anybody else? Any thoughts? Any?
I concur. I mean, I think that until we know where we're supposed to be doing or what we're supposed to be doing or where we're supposed to be going with this, I mean, we're spinning our wheels. So, I mean, unless we have direction, I just don't see, that we waste any more time, frankly. And I hate to sound like it's a waste of time, but if we're going to do something and it's going to be, not something that the board wants us to do, then I think that let's just stop until we figure it out.
Yeah. I think, Greg, the message would be is that, I'm only speaking for myself, we'd like to have an impact. That's why we're all on this commission. And we would like the feedback. We just don't want to have meetings once a month and have a cup of coffee and chat. Everyone is wonderful on this, but for me, I'd like to have an impact. I'd like to say we accomplished something. So.
Point taken.
Okay. Great.
Well, I don't think we need to belabor. I think I feel much the same way that Erwin and Mina feel, that there are things that the village should be thinking about and that we're thinking about as a result of the study that we've engaged in, finding about what's going on. And anyway, I sense that to some degree, some feel that we're sticking our nose in a place where it shouldn't be. And I don't want to do that. So.
But the whole point of economic development is to develop the economy and to bring business. I mean, again, I work with economic developers every day. So I think it's just frustrating that for me personally, that, like I agree with Erwin. I mean, I'm not here just wasting my time for the last, 5 or 6 years, Erwin, that we've been doing this. And I feel like we've not gotten any traction. And so for me, the frustration is that I want to help, but I feel like we're getting different messages, or, we get our hands slapped for doing something that we're not supposed to be doing. So I don't know, for me, a direction, at least in some sense, would be helpful, especially Greg, now that you're here too. And we have, we have everyone on the board, that we finally got the last person installed. It's great. Now that we have normalcy, you've had your meetings, I think, again, it would just be good just to understand what we should be doing. Because what we're doing right now isn't economic development, in my opinion. I think what we're doing is community development. More than anything. And I do believe there is a distinction between the two efforts. And I don't think what we're doing is bad. I just don't think I think we could do more. I just don't think we just know how to do more at this point. So that's my frustration. And again, my personal thoughts on the matter. But yeah, I agree with Erwin though. I'd love to do more and help and feel like we did something. more than we've done in the last 5 years or whatever we've been doing.
Well, I said it was a short agenda, and indeed it is a short agenda, it looks like. And that's a good thing. You know, we're doing what we have to do and not wasting our time on your time on, you know, things that are a coffee clash. Is there any new business that anybody wants to bring up?
Greg, I just wanted to thank you for a memo on the electric vehicles. I think that's really interesting and I want to put it on the next agenda. And I'd like to talk to you about it, but I thought it was really helpful and interesting. There does seem to be definitely a strong interest in a lot of communities. So that's exciting.
Yep. Happy to talk to you about it. Thank you.
Okay, then motion to adjourn, anybody?
I move to adjourn.
Second? All opposed? Hearing no opposition, we are adjourned.
Take care, everyone.
Happy New Year,
Yeah,
everyone.
take
Bye,
care.
everyone.
Everybody.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye, everybody.